I met Emily on a rainy Thursday afternoon, the kind where the sky just can't seem to decide whether it's going to pour or clear up. I was standing in line at the local DMV of all places, quietly cursing under my breath about a lost license and a wasted day. She was ahead of me in line, wearing this bright yellow raincoat that stood out like a spotlight in the otherwise gray room. She turned around at one point, completely unprovoked, and said, "Isn't this place just a soul-sucking vacuum?" I laughed harder than I probably should have, and just like that, the ice was broken. By the time we were both called up to the desk, I knew three things about her. She was a graphic designer, she hated red wine, and she thought Breaking Bad was overrated. That last one stung a little. Still does. We went for coffee right after. It was one of those spontaneous decisions that didn't feel spontaneous at all, like something had already been decided, and we were just catching up to it. She was witty, sharp, thoughtful in a way that made you feel like you were the only person in the room when she looked at you. I remember thinking I could sit across from her for the rest of my life and never get tired of her face. Fast forward 9 years, and here we are, living in a cozy 2-story house on the edge of a quiet neighborhood. It's nothing extravagant, but it's ours. She painted the kitchen this warm sage green that I didn't understand at first, but somehow works perfectly with the light in the morning. I turned the garage into a small workshop, and she has her office upstairs, filled with color palettes and fabric samples, and at least 3 coffee mugs that somehow multiply. We do all right. I work in structural design for a mid-sized firm, blueprints, city permits, zoning arguments, that kind of thing. It's not glamorous, but I like it. She runs her own freelance business now, mostly branding and marketing work for local companies, and she's built a solid reputation. We both work from home a lot, which means a lot of shared lunches, coffee breaks in the backyard, and passing each other in the hallway with sarcastic commentary about meetings and deadlines. Our days have a kind of gentle rhythm to them. Breakfast together if we wake up around the same time. She usually does yoga or takes a walk in the mornings, while I head straight to my laptop with coffee in hand. In the evenings, we trade off cooking duties, though she's definitely the better chef. She makes these incredible roasted vegetable bowls that I pretend to be unimpressed by just so she'll roll her eyes and call me a brat. On weekends, we'll take the dog, Charlie, our moody golden retriever, to the park or drive out of town just to wander around antique shops or grab brunch at a diner we haven't tried yet. Sunday mornings are sacred. Pancakes, records playing in the background, her feet on my lap while she sketches or reads. If someone asked me what love looks like, I'd probably say this. Not grand gestures or dramatic declarations, just the quiet ease of sharing space with someone who makes the ordinary feel like a soft place to land. That's what we've built. That's who we are. At least, that's how it feels right now. Emily and I didn't fall into a routine overnight. It happened in these small, deliberate ways over the years. The way she'd always hum while brushing her teeth, or how I started leaving notes for her on the fridge when I knew she'd be up late working. Our life slowly became less about I and more about we. We've been married for 7 years now. It doesn't feel like that long, though when I look back at our wedding photos, we both seem so unfinished. Younger, yes, but more than that, less shaped. Like we hadn't been fully weathered by life yet. Not in a bad way, just not as settled. These days, we're two people with our own grooves and rituals, but the overlap? That's where the magic lives. We live in this quiet cul-de-sac just outside the city, in a house that always smells like coffee or her lavender candles. She has a way of making spaces feel lived in and warm without even trying. Our home isn't pristine, and it's not Instagram perfect, but it's ours. The front porch has 2 rocking chairs we picked up at a flea market during a trip to Asheville, and there's a soft, worn blanket always draped over the back of one, even in the summer. Most mornings, she beats me out of bed. I'll wake up to the sound of the kettle whistling and Charlie's nails tapping against the hardwood floors. She takes her coffee with oat milk and cinnamon and teases me for how boring my black coffee is, even though I've been drinking it the same way since college. Sometimes she'll bring it to me in bed if she's feeling sweet. Sometimes I'll bring her a scone from the bakery down the street just because I know she had a long night working. It's the small things. We don't go out a ton. We're more the order Thai and watch a documentary type these days, but we do try to make space for each other outside of work. Thursday nights are our unofficial date night, even if that just means playing cards on the porch or watching reruns of Parks and Rec. And every other month, we'll plan a weekend getaway to somewhere drivable. The mountains, a coastal town, even just a cabin in the woods with no cell reception. Those weekends are kind of sacred. No distractions, no responsibilities. Just us. She still makes me laugh. That's something I don't take for granted. She has this dry, slightly sarcastic sense of humor that catches you off guard. Like once, when I came home frustrated after a zoning meeting, she handed me a fake permit she'd designed that said permission to wine granted. Valid until dinner. I laughed so hard I forgot why I was mad in the first place. And I admire her genuinely. She's one of those people who never seems to do anything halfway. Whether she's designing a logo for a local startup or organizing our ridiculously labeled pantry, she gives it her full attention. Sometimes I catch her working late into the night, eyes narrowed, brow furrowed, completely absorbed. It's like watching someone in their element. I love that about her. Always have. We're not flashy, and our life isn't something you'd see in a movie. But there's peace in the life we've created. It's not perfect, but it's familiar, comfortable, safe. And if you'd asked me a year ago, a month ago, even yesterday, I would have said with complete certainty that Emily and I were solid. I believed in us. Still do. One of the things I love most about our relationship is how much we enjoy the quiet. There's something underrated about the kind of companionship where you can sit in the same room for hours, barely speaking, and still feel connected. That's us. I'll be sketching ideas in my notebook, and she'll be curled up on the couch with her tablet, working on a logo or just scrolling through Pinterest. Every now and then she'll look up and say something completely random like, "Do you think we could pull off growing lemon trees in pots?" And I'll answer her without hesitation, like it's the most normal question in the world. We found this rhythm where neither of us needs to perform or be on for the other. That comfort, that familiarity, it's one of the things I'm most proud of. It's not easy to build that with someone. You only get there through years of showing up, through learning how to argue without tearing each other apart, how to apologize without ego, how to listen even when you're tired. Emily and I still kiss hello and goodbye every single day, without fail. It's a small gesture, but it's ours. Even if she's in a rush or I'm on a call, we pause for a second, touch base. She says it helps her stay grounded. I think I just like having an excuse to pull her close. Weekends are when we really unwind. Saturday mornings are slow and sacred. I make pancakes, blueberry, if we have them, and she sets the table with this absurd little ceramic syrup pitcher she insists on using. After breakfast, we usually end up working in the yard. She's got a thing for succulents and lavender, and I've somehow turned into a guy who knows the difference between fescue and ryegrass. We planted a small garden last year, tomatoes, peppers, and a tragic attempt at carrots, and now every harvest, no matter how small, feels like a win. We have friends over now, and then, small dinners or game nights, nothing big. Her best friend Mara comes over at least once a month, and the two of them usually disappear into the kitchen drinking wine and laughing so hard I can hear them through the walls. I like that she has that, her own world, her own people. We're close, but we've always been good at giving each other space too. Vacations are usually road trips. We like the freedom of it, music up, windows down, no fixed plans. Just us, a map, and a loosely packed suitcase. Last fall, we drove up the coast and stayed in this little rental with creaky floors and a fireplace that barely worked. We made pasta from scratch, danced to old records, and walked barefoot on the beach at night. That trip felt like pressing pause on real life, just for a while. She's still got that spark, even on ordinary days. Sometimes I'll catch her dancing in the kitchen while the coffee brews, or humming to herself while folding laundry. It's those moments, the ones no one else sees, that make me feel lucky. That make me believe we've built something lasting. If you ask me what kind of husband I am, I'd say I try. Not always perfectly, but with my whole heart. I love her. I trust her. And in this life we've created together, I genuinely feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I don't remember what we were watching that night, something light, maybe a comedy, because I remember laughing. Emily had her legs across my lap, and I was tracing circles on her ankle absent-mindedly. One of those small, familiar gestures we've always shared. The dishes were done. Charlie was already passed out on the rug, and we had nowhere to be. It was a typical Wednesday night, quiet and close. And then, without any warning at all, she muted the TV and turned to me. "Can I ask you something without you getting weird about it?" I gave her a curious look and nodded. "Sure." She hesitated, not for dramatic effect, but like she was weighing something. Then she said it, just like that. "What would you think about opening our marriage?" I blinked, actually thinking I'd misheard her. What? I've just been reading things, she said quickly, like she had rehearsed this. About couples who've been together a long time, like us, and how they keep things exciting. And it's not just about sex, it's about connection. Exploring. Letting go of the traditional boxes we put ourselves in. I sat there, frozen. The air changed. Something in the room felt heavier, like the weight of her words had physically shifted the space between us. You want to sleep with other people? I asked, carefully, trying not to sound accusatory. No, she said immediately. I mean, not like that. Not right away. I'm just talking about the idea. Exploring the idea. Talking about boundaries. Seeing what it could look like for us. I didn't know what to say. My brain was still trying to process whether this was some kind of philosophical musing or a real conversation about appending everything we had built. Where is this coming from? I asked finally. She shrugged, too casually. I guess I've just been thinking about it for a while. I love you, and I'm not unhappy. Please don't think that, but I think there's more out there. For both of us. We've been together a long time. Don't you ever wonder what it would be like to experience something new, without it meaning the end of us? I think that's what threw me the most. The way she talked about it so reasonably. Like we were discussing switching insurance companies or remodeling the bathroom. Like it wasn't a bomb she'd just dropped on our marriage. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I didn't even ask if there was someone else. Not yet. I just sat there, staring at her like I didn't recognize her for a moment. I could see she was watching me carefully, maybe hoping I'd be open to it. Maybe hoping I'd say something progressive or enlightened or whatever she wanted to hear. Instead, I said, I need some time to think about this. She nodded, slowly, and unmuted the TV. But neither of us paid attention to the screen after that. Her hand stayed on my knee, light and tentative, and mine stayed still. I didn't touch her again that night. I didn't sleep much either. It's strange how quickly you can start noticing the tiniest shifts once your perspective changes, even if you're not sure what you're looking for. Ever since Emily brought up the idea of opening our marriage, I've been walking around with this dull throb in the back of my mind. Not pain exactly, more like pressure, a weight that wasn't there before. We never really resolved the conversation. I told her I needed time, and she gave it to me, or at least said she did. We didn't bring it up again, but something in the air between us shifted. We still talked, still had dinner together, still shared the same bed. But it started to feel like we were performing, like we were checking boxes to maintain the illusion of normalcy. She started going out more, little things at first. Grabbing drinks with Mara, hitting the co-op late, or a client meeting ran over. All perfectly reasonable explanations, and I never questioned her directly. I didn't want to be that guy. But there were moments, small ones, where her answers didn't quite fit together. I'd ask how dinner was with Mara, and she'd pause a beat too long before answering. Or I'd mention something funny that happened on a Tuesday evening, and she'd say, was that the night I was at the studio, when she'd told me she was home working late? I told myself I was overthinking, that this was what happened when you let doubt in. It poisons everything if you let it. But still, I couldn't help noticing how much more she was on her phone. How she started keeping it face down. How she laughed at messages I never got to see. She used to hand me her phone to show me memes or random things from Instagram. Now she just doesn't. The intimacy between us didn't disappear overnight. It faded gradually, like light through a closing door. We still touched, still kissed, still held hands when we went out. But the way she looked at me, it felt like her eyes were somewhere else, even when she was right in front of me. I kept trying to rationalize it. Maybe it was about the open marriage idea. Maybe she was just sorting out what she wanted. Maybe she was hoping I'd take the lead, say yes or no, give her permission to explore, or shut the door firmly. Maybe she was waiting for me to change. Maybe I was changing, just slower than her. The worst part was how lonely I started to feel while sitting right next to her. We had this night a few weeks ago. We were watching something on Netflix, some new drama she'd picked out. Halfway through, I looked over at her. She was staring at the screen, hand loosely curled in mine, but her expression was somewhere else. Blank. And for a second, it felt like I was watching a stranger. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't one big thing. It's never one big thing. It's 100 little things. The way she avoids eye contact when I bring up our future plans. The way she showers late at night now. The way her phone lights up and she doesn't even glance at it unless I'm not looking. I haven't said anything. Not yet. I still don't know if I'm imagining things. Maybe this is what happens when two people drift. Maybe I'm reading into things because of what she said about opening the marriage. Maybe this is just how people start pulling away when something isn't working and they don't know how to say it. Or maybe it's something else. I don't know, but I feel it. It's weird how silence starts to feel louder than words. That's how it's been lately between me and Emily. We still talk, still share meals, still move around the house together like we always have. But the conversations feel thinner, lighter, like we're both trying not to disturb something fragile that we can't quite name. She's been busier than usual. At least, that's what she says. More client meetings, more late nights editing branding packages, more networking events that pop up out of nowhere. I haven't asked many questions, not because I don't want answers, but because I don't want to come off paranoid. That's the thing. Once you start noticing the cracks, everything starts to look like a fracture. Last Friday, she came home around 11 p.m. Her hair was damp, her makeup freshened, and she smelled faintly of something sweet, like perfume I didn't recognize. She said she'd grabbed a drink with an old college friend, someone visiting from out of town. She laughed as she talked about it, poured herself a glass of water, took off her shoes by the door like it was the most ordinary night in the world. And maybe it was. But something about the way she moved, too casual, too practiced, it made my stomach twist. I stayed up that night, lying next to her while she slept, staring at the ceiling, trying to reason with myself. What exactly was I reacting to? A perfume I didn't know? A gap in our conversation? Was I building a case out of nothing? But that's the thing, there's no case. Just feelings, impressions, vibes. And those are harder to shake. We haven't been intimate in a while. At first, I didn't think much of it. Busy schedules, stress, the ebb and flow of married life. But lately, when I reach for her, she subtly shifts away. Not cold, not rejecting, just distant. Like she's conserving energy for something else. Or someone else. I haven't told anyone about how I'm feeling. Not friends, not family. What would I even say? I think my wife might be drifting away, but I can't prove it, and she hasn't done anything wrong. No one wants to hear that. It's vague. It's unsolvable. It makes people uncomfortable. The thing is, I still want to believe in her. I still love her. And it's that love that keeps me stuck in this loop, second-guessing my instincts, rationalizing the gaps, convincing myself that if something was really wrong, I'd know for sure. But I don't. That's the hardest part. I don't know. And that not knowing is exhausting. Sometimes I think about that night she brought up the open marriage idea. The timing, the calmness of it. Like it had already been rehearsed in her head long before she ever said it out loud. Maybe it meant nothing. Maybe it was just curiosity. But now, weeks later, it feels like it was the start of a shift that hasn't stopped shifting. She's still kind, still smiles, still kisses me goodbye in the mornings. But there's a part of her I can't reach anymore. And I'm afraid that whatever it is, whatever's growing in that space between us, it's already got roots. The hardest part isn't the silence. It's pretending not to notice it. Emily and I still live together, still share the same routines, but lately, it feels like she's phoning it all in. She talks, but rarely with me. She's present, but not really here. It's like I'm sharing a house with someone who looks like my wife, sounds like her, even smells like her, but doesn't quite feel like her anymore. We had dinner last night, grilled salmon and roasted potatoes. She made it, even set the table with candles like she used to on special nights. I thought maybe it was a turning point. A quiet gesture. I was wrong. She spent most of the meal on edge, checking her phone more times than I could count. Said it was a client who was panicking about a project deadline. I didn't push. Afterward, she disappeared upstairs, said she needed to wrap up a few things. I cleaned the kitchen alone, washed the dishes, packed the leftovers. The house felt too quiet. And even though I knew she was only one floor above me, she might as well have been miles away. This kind of thing has been happening more and more. She goes to bed later now, keeps her phone close. Her moods shift without warning, one moment affectionate, the next distracted, aloof. And then there are the moments where she's almost too nice. Like she's trying to overcompensate for something. Last weekend, we went to the farmer's market together. Something we used to do every Saturday without fail. I was hoping the familiarity of it would bring us back to that easy rhythm we used to have. And for a little while, it did. We walked, browsed the stalls, bought fresh basil and peaches. But at one point, I caught her smiling at something on her phone, softly, the way she used to smile at me across a crowded room. I asked what was funny, and she said, "Oh, nothing. Just Mara being weird." But she didn't show me. She always used to show me. I'm trying not to spiral. I keep reminding myself that people change, habits shift, and marriage, real marriage, goes through lulls. Maybe that's all this is. A lull. A season. But it doesn't feel like a low point we're working through together. It feels like I'm watching her drift further out to sea while I stay standing on the shore, waving like a fool. The other night, I asked her if everything was okay. Just that. Simple, open-ended. She paused, gave me this tired smile, and said, "Yeah, I'm just in a weird headspace lately." I nodded, said I understood. But I didn't. Not really. We haven't made love in over a month. I tried, a few nights ago. Reached for her, kissed her shoulder. She turned toward me, kissed me back, slow, soft, but then whispered, "I'm just not in the mood, babe. I'm sorry." And it wasn't the rejection that got to me. It was the way she pulled away afterward and rolled over like she was relieved. There's a new distance between us. A quiet one. Like she's slowly packing up parts of herself and storing them somewhere I can't reach. I don't have proof of anything. I don't even know what I'd be looking for if I did. All I have is this aching feeling in my gut that something's shifting under the surface of our life, and I'm the only one pretending not to feel it. It happened on a Tuesday. Late afternoon, ordinary in every way. Emily had gone out earlier to meet a client for coffee. I didn't think much of it. I'd gotten used to the vague calendar blocks and unspoken hours. I had a headache, and I remember digging through the medicine drawer when I found her laptop on the counter, open but asleep. Nothing about that was unusual. She works from home. She bounces between devices all day. But the screen lit up as I passed, and something caught my eye. A file name. Just a sliver of it in the recent documents bar. The title was long, partially cut off, but I could see enough. vid_2024. I don't know why I clicked. I swear to God, I don't. It wasn't snooping. It was instinct. Or maybe something deeper than that. The same way you glance over your shoulder when someone's watching you. A kind of gravitational pull that said, "Look." The screen flickered, and the video began to play. And that's when my entire world cracked open. I didn't understand what I was seeing at first. The camera was shaky, angled low, like it had been set on a dresser. And then she appeared. Emily, my wife, wearing a black lace bra I didn't recognize. Her hair was tied up, her skin flushed, and she was laughing this soft, breathy laugh I hadn't heard in weeks. Then came the voice. A man's voice. Quiet, coaxing. He stepped into the frame, shirtless, hands already on her waist. I couldn't move. They kissed. Deeply. Naturally. Like it wasn't the first time. And then it escalated, fast. The way she touched him, looked at him, responded to him, it wasn't distant. It wasn't experimental. It was familiar. Comfortable. She knew him. And she wanted him. I shut the laptop. Fast. Like that would undo it somehow. Like the act of closing the screen could rewind what I'd just seen. But it didn't. The images were already burned into my memory. Branded there. Unshakable. I stood in the kitchen, breath short, hands trembling. The sounds of their voices still echoing in my ears. It wasn't a conversation. It wasn't a message. It wasn't vague or deniable. It was proof. And the worst part wasn't even the betrayal itself. It was how easily it had been hidden. How normal she'd acted. How smooth everything had seemed, even as it was falling apart behind my back. There were no warning signs in that video. No hesitation. No guilt. Just her fully present, fully involved with someone else. I don't remember how long I stood there. Time stopped meaning anything. The room felt too still, too sharp, like the air itself had teeth. When she came home a couple hours later, I was still sitting on the couch. I didn't say anything. I didn't look at her. She walked past me, humming quietly, pulled her hair down from a bun, and asked if I wanted Thai for dinner. I said sure. And she smiled. She smiled. That night, I barely slept. I lay there in the dark next to her, listening to her breathing, staring at the ceiling, and trying to figure out how you grieve a marriage that isn't even over yet. But in my heart, I knew something had ended the moment I pressed play. I didn't say anything for 2 days. I went through the motions, ate the meals she made, kissed her cheek when she leaned in out of habit. I answered her small talk with small talk of my own. But I barely slept. My mind was on fire. That video kept playing in my head like it had burned a permanent reel into my vision. By the 3rd day, something in me broke. It was just after lunch. Emily was in her office upstairs, door cracked, headphones on. I could hear the faint sound of her typing, her laugh on a call. Probably a client. Or maybe not. I didn't care anymore. I stood in our kitchen, looking around the space we'd built together, and I knew exactly what I had to do. I grabbed a duffel bag, packed only what I needed: clothes, passport, essentials. Then I opened her laptop and copied the video to a flash drive. I didn't watch it again. I didn't need to. I sent it to myself, encrypted, and deleted the file from her system, not because I wanted to protect her, but because I needed her to feel that twist of confusion when she realized it was gone. That split second of dread. Then I waited. When she came downstairs around 4, smiling, stretching like it was just another productive afternoon, I met her in the living room. I was calm. Dead calm. The kind of stillness that comes right before the avalanche. "Hey," she said. "What are you doing home early?" I didn't answer. I just looked at her. Really looked at her. And for the first time in my life, I felt nothing. No love. No warmth. Just a cold detachment that scared even me. "You need to leave," I said. Her smile froze. "What?" "I know," I said flatly. "I saw it. The video. Him. You." She went pale. Her mouth opened, then closed. I could see it, the calculation behind her eyes. The denial forming, the fake confusion. But I didn't give her the chance. "I'm not asking for an explanation. I don't care why. You made your choice. Now you live with it." She stumbled through a dozen starts of sentences. "It was a mistake. I didn't mean, we weren't even sure. You said you needed time." I never said cheat on me while I was thinking it over. She tried to touch my arm. I stepped back. "Get out." "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked, voice cracking. "I don't care." And I didn't. Not then. She left that evening with a suitcase, sobbing into her phone, probably calling Mara or some other friend she'd already lied to about me. She kept looking back at the house like she couldn't believe it was happening. But it was. And it was final. Later that night, I pulled out my phone and messaged her friend Claire. Claire, who'd flirted with me once at a party 3 years ago. We hadn't spoken since. Until now. The conversation was short. Direct. She came over. It was mechanical. Not tender. There was no romance in it. Just heat and fury, and the satisfaction of taking something for myself after everything that had been taken from me. I didn't pretend it was anything more. When it was done, and Claire had left, I sent Emily the video. No message. No caption. Just the file. As she had done, carelessly, shamelessly, I returned the favor. I turned my phone off before the first reply came in. I didn't need to read it. There was nothing she could say that would matter anymore. By morning, she tried to call 7 times. Left voicemails. Texts. Long paragraphs that I scrolled through without absorbing a word. She begged. Apologized. Screamed in all caps. Swore she could explain. But you can't explain betrayal. You can only live in its wake. I filed for divorce the next day. And for the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. I didn't expect peace to feel like this. Not loud or triumphant. Just quiet. Still. I woke up 3 days after I filed the divorce papers and realized, for the first time in a long while, that I wasn't waiting. Not waiting for her to come home. Not waiting for her to lie to me. Not waiting for some half-truth or distant smile to signal whether I was still enough for her. The silence in the house was sharp, but it wasn't hostile anymore. It was mine. The first thing I did was clean. I don't mean tidy up. I mean strip the place down to the bones. I took all the sheets she'd ever picked out and tossed them in the donation pile. Boxed up photos, her books, the little framed us quote she used to hang in the hallway. I didn't do it angrily. There was no rage in it. Just this need to reclaim the space. To scrape the last layers of her off the walls and make room for something, anything, that didn't feel like pretending anymore. I started going to the gym again, not because of some petty need for revenge, but because I needed to feel like I was occupying my own skin again. I hadn't realized how much of myself I'd handed over in the name of keeping things normal. Now, with no one to perform for, I found strange comfort in sweat and soreness. My body became something I was responsible for again, not something I was slowly shrinking inside of. I deleted our shared calendar, closed the Netflix account, got a new email, even changed the lock code on the front door. These were small things, but they felt like steps, like pieces of thread being cut from whatever tangle she'd left behind. I didn't need to announce them. I just needed to do them for myself. What surprised me most was how quickly people showed up. My brother called out of nowhere and said, "Whatever you need." My coworker, Adam, brought over a 6-pack and sat on the porch with me in complete silence for an hour. It was the best conversation I'd had in weeks. And then there was Naomi. I met her at a bookstore. Yeah, another one. It wasn't planned. I wasn't looking. I was just standing there, flipping through a book I had no intention of buying, and she asked me if I'd read anything else by the author. We talked for maybe 5 minutes. She was warm, soft-spoken, and had this way of pausing just long enough before responding that made you feel like she was actually thinking about what you said. It wasn't a moment full of sparks or cosmic signs, it was just real. And that was enough. We didn't rush into anything. We went for coffee, then lunch a few weeks later. I told her I was freshly out of a marriage, and she didn't flinch. She told me she was divorced too, 3 years now, and we ended up laughing about how both of us had become slightly allergic to the phrase, "It just kind of happened." With Naomi, things feel different. There's no performance. No pressure to fix what I didn't break. We talk. We listen. We exist beside each other without trying to be anything more than ourselves. That's new for me. It's healing in a way I didn't realize I needed. I'm not over everything. I still wake up some mornings with that same weight in my chest, that flicker of memory I have to shake off like dust. But I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I've stopped asking why and started asking what now. And what now is beginning to sound like a second chance. Some days, I still catch myself staring at the front door like she might walk through it, toss her keys in the bowl, and ask what I want for dinner. Not because I want her to, but because muscle memory takes a while to die. Our life was a pattern, 1,000 repeated steps. And even now, when I've rebuilt the path I walk each day, part of me still knows the old route by heart. But I don't miss her. Not the version she became. What I miss, if anything, is the person I thought she was. The girl in the yellow raincoat at the DMV. The one who used to make pancakes with music playing too loud on Sunday mornings. That version of Emily exists only in memory now. And even that version, I've started to realize, might have been built more out of hope than truth. Naomi told me once, over wine, legs tucked under her on my couch, that healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about remembering it differently, letting it lose its teeth, making it just another part of the story. She's good like that. She doesn't press when I get quiet, doesn't flinch when the past sneaks in through the cracks. She holds space for it. And in doing that, she's given me something I didn't think I'd find again, a future that doesn't feel haunted. We've started making new memories. Nothing grand, coffee on the balcony, late-night drives with no destination, laughing over burned garlic bread because I still can't cook worth anything. But they're real, and they belong to me. Not to the man I was trying to be. Not to the life I was fighting to keep. To me. Now, I've come to accept that I'll never really get the answers I wanted. I'll never understand what was going through Emily's mind when she made those choices, and I don't need to. There's no closure in explanations. Just an acceptance. She broke something between us that couldn't be fixed, not because I wasn't enough, but because she stopped choosing me long before I realized it. And me? I've started choosing myself again. The house feels lighter now. Her photos are gone, the bed's different, the smell of her candles replaced by whatever Naomi left on her scarf last weekend. Charlie's still here, he never cared about drama. Just belly rubs. And I've started leaving the windows open more. Letting the air shift, the light in. I'm not the same man I was when this started. There's a scar where the trust used to be. But scars don't mean you're broken. They just mean you healed. So here's the truth. I was betrayed. I was shattered. I did things I didn't think I was capable of. I lost a version of love I thought would last forever. And I survived it. And now, I'm building something new. Slowly. Honestly. With fewer illusions and more heart. Because love, real love, isn't just what you feel in the beginning. It's what you choose and keep choosing when the storm comes. And this time, I'm choosing differently.